Hello everyone, happy Friday to you. Today I want to talk about crate anxiety because right now we all probably feel like we're living in a crate. We're getting cabin frustration and anxiety with having to be inside of our house all day long. A lot of us aren't used to being around our family as much. You know how the old saying goes, companies like fish, after 3 days they start to stink. Well, even your own family, it starts getting really tough. So a lot of people are dealing with crate anxiety from a human perspective because your house is really nothing more than a big crate. But before coronavirus hit this country, many people had anxiety about placing their dog in a crate. They think of it as doggy jail. They think it's being inhumane. However, there's been so many studies over the years. I mean, not just one, more than I can count on two hands that have been to research this to find out, is the puppy stress response mobilized when it's in a crate? So there's two groups of dogs that we're going to talk about today associated with being in a crate or kennel. Those are puppies, and then there's your older dogs. A lot of times when you adopt an older dog, you pick it up from a rescue or an animal shelter, there's some past, and there can be some traumatic events associated with being in a crate. I had a client a year ago whose dog went into a kennel every single day for about 6 hours while she was at work. One day, the house was broken into, and they kicked in the front door, ransacked the house, and that was it. That dog did not want to go back in that kennel again. It took us about 4 months of pharmacotherapy to get the dog to go back into its kennel, and now everything is fine. That's just called natural pairing. I was in here, this horrible thing happened, so therefore I don't want to go in here again because that horrible thing could happen again. But outside of those really extreme circumstances, I'm telling you what, crate anxiety, and here's where our anxiety comes from. So we get a puppy or we get a dog that maybe is not used to being in a crate, and we put it in there, and it cries. Now again, because we're so anthropomorphic, we cannot stand the absence of logic. So anytime we can't explain why is the dog doing this, we're going to come up with why we would do it. Why we would. But you have to understand, a puppy is a wolf cub. And wolf cubs, if they are found separated from their siblings and their mother and father for too long, they're dead. As simple as that. They're dead. And this happens a lot of times when we have mating pair that do not have older children. This is their first cubs, their very first offspring that they've had. Well, those parents have to go hunt. They have to go to work. They have to go get food. And there's no older siblings to safeguard the young pups. And many times they'll come back and find that their den has been excavated by a bear. They've been killed. But nevertheless, when you pick up your puppy from a breeder or wherever you get it from, and you bring it home, and you first place it in a crate by itself, that is that phylogenetic behavior. In other words, separation protest is an adaptive response since it phylogenetically serves to reunite the puppy with its mother. And that's all about safety. Safety. Separation from mom, and I'm dead on a doornail. And so your dogs, who again, once they share all of their mitochondrial DNA, but 0.2%, they have that same instinct. So separation is hard, and we hear them crying out, and we think, oh my gosh, there's something horrible going on. They're going to be traumatized. They're going to grow up fearful of their crate, or they're going to grow up not liking me because I put them in the jail, and they're going to associate that with timeout, and they're going to think I'm a really horrible owner. Well, if you're thinking that, it really couldn't be further from the truth, especially when it comes to puppies. Just as of 6 months ago, there were three main universities. One of them was the Department of Animal Science at the University of Milan in Italy, and the other two were schools of veterinary medicine, one in Montreal and one in Quebec. And they did a big study in which they took puppies ranging from 7 weeks of age to 16 weeks of age, and they left them at home for 1 hour and filmed them and then measured their stress response. And half of the puppies, or 32 total, were placed in a crate. The other half were just left to roam around by themselves. And they studied this at about a 3-week separation. So they did it one time, 3 weeks later, they measured it again, 3 weeks later, they measured again. And at the end of the day, what they found out that even if some of the puppies showed initial stress, that separation protest, the adaptive response, even if they showed it initially for a few days, it did not persist over time. In other words, by the time they got to the third test, none of the puppies showed any anxiety with being placed in a crate. So, again, when you use a crate, you're actually helping the puppy. I tell so many people that out in nature, you have a den, and that den is underneath the ground. And it's underneath the ground for a reason. It's not there for the comfort of the pup. Remember, they're born when winter is ending. They're born on purpose during a weather-type climate that they can survive if they have to be on top of the ground. In fact, Arctic wolves, where the tundra is frozen and there's a permafrost, they don't make dens. They make above-ground dens by making what's called a nest for the young cubs to go into. But south of that, the young cubs are born and they remain underground for several weeks. And the reason for that is for safety. This eliminates birds of prey like big owls, big eagles, big hawks. It also eliminates a badger, a wolverine, any animal that would try to come down this hole. If they do, they have to squeeze down that tight hole, really work at it, and go down it head first. And guess who's waiting on them? Mother. And I'm telling you what, you've not seen the wrath until you see a mother, whether it be human or animal, trying to protect their offspring. No animal can survive that. So therefore, they remain underneath the ground here until they're old enough to come above the ground and you can start to eliminate some of these predators, definitely the birds of prey and other animals. They're too large to be carried off once they come above ground. Nature's really smart. So that being said, that little den-like instinct where this is safety, being in an enclosed space is safety, that's still in our dogs. In fact, those people who did those studies I talked to you about concluded at the very end that actually putting your dog in a crate did lower the animal's anxiety. It does. It gives them a safe place to go. How many of you have a crate and you leave the door open to only find out that your pup went in there on its own? They do that. How many pups lay underneath the coffee table? They lay up underneath the bed. They snuggle up to you on a sofa. These are den-dwelling animals, and they want a den. But let's talk about that real quick, too, because there's a good den that replicates this, and then there's a bad den that replicates a trap. And I've got two of them sitting out here right now. You'll see this one is enclosed. And if you look inside of it, it's dark. There's a couple little holes for ventilation, but it is dark. And if I open up the door here, you can see inside. It's tight, it's snug, dark, and it has doors that the pup cannot escape from. And then we have this kennel over here, the old wire kennel. I call it the old birdcage kennel. Now me personally, if I had to be in this, or I had to be in this one, that's the one I'm going to pick. I'm an outdoors person. I can't stand to be cooped up. But see, that's me. I want a 360-degree view. I want fresh air. I want natural light. That's what I want. That's me. But I'm not a dog. I'm not a wolf cub. With many, many studies by many of the top leading behavioral institutes in the world, they placed dogs in these kennels. Then they measured their stress response, their glucocorticoid levels, their resting blood pressure, so on and so forth. Then they took those same dogs in this controlled study and put them in an enclosed crate for the same amount of time under exact same conditions. And here's something quite remarkable. But when you know nature, it's not so remarkable. But for the people doing the study, not really knowing all of this, they found that every single dog, wow, this one was an absolute. Every single dog that was placed in the enclosed kennel had a marked decrease in their stress response, resting blood pressure, heart rate, you name it, in comparison to the open air kennel. See, this thing right here for a dog in their world does not provide the safety that this does. When I'm in here, I cannot be attacked from the back, nor the sides, nor from the top, or nor from underneath. And even the door serves as a barrier. However, dogs in these wire kennels, the perception is I can be attacked from all angles. There's no safety here. There's no way to get away. So if you're going to use a crate, which I highly recommend because I owned a vet hospital for many years, and I'm here to tell you, again, the old attitude that I have, puppy, I love you, but I'm going to save you from yourself. They will eat anything. They will shred anything. Everything is to be tested for survival purposes. Can I eat it? Does it supply life-sustaining calories? Does it? They're going to check that. They're going to try and explore, free exploration, curiosity. Why? Because they don't know. They don't have a clue that you're going to feed them for the rest of their lives. So therefore, they're going to prepare as though they're never going to be with you forever. And that's called that biologically prepared learning. So that being said, wow, it's really harmful that they ingest this marker. Or the thing that we had to surgically remove from dogs at my vet hospital, Apple TV remotes. Kid you not. Those little silver things. You got to think, what the heck, dog? Why would you want to eat that? But they do. And they eat everything from hoodie cords and strings, everything, corded rugs, you name it. They don't know. And if you wouldn't no more let a little toddler, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old wander around your house unsupervised, then don't do so with your dog, because that's really what they are when they're young. They got that same kind of mindset. So the kennel is not cruel, it's actually humane. It provides safety when the dog cannot be underfoot. When life carries on. A lot of you are working from home right now. You've got a job to do still. You're still trying to earn a paycheck. You've got to cook. How many of you weren't cooking up to this point? The kitchen was just something to look at. But now you're actually using it. And you're doing all this laundry. You're doing everything. It's actually inhumane not to safeguard your young dog or even your older dog. And besides that, it's called quality of life. If your dog is around you constantly, then you are either at any moment accepting the behavior or you're not. So over a period of time, stop that, quit, quiet, down, place, non-stop, all day long. We're stressed right now as humans, but dogs don't get coronavirus. They don't get your stress. They don't get your career. They don't get your finances right now. They don't understand that. They just understand you. So count to 10. Give the dog a break. Go put it up. It'll go in here. It'll do what nature told it to do, conserve calories, lie down, and go to sleep. If they cry, let it go. Let it go if they're a puppy. If there's any dog under a year of age, let it go. If they're over a year of age and you adopted this dog from a rescue or an animal shelter, well then, if it persists, I would give it a couple of days and just see. But if you have a dog salivating in here, panting, eyes dilated, super high stress response, well then we may need to address that. And there's a lot of ways to address that through counter conditioning, desensitizing the animal to the kennel. There are chemicals that can help the animal to lower the stress response and trap it at a certain level. There's all sorts of things you can do. But for right now, hey guys, when you need a break, use your kennel. And if you do get a puppy during these next couple of months, think about using a kennel. They're actually good for the dog. They're not harmful. I've had, I don't know how many darn dogs in my life, and I'm telling you what, I've always used a crate like this. And they've all been wonderful. In fact, every single one of them. About the time I'm ready to go to bed, and as each passing decade, that hour backs up just a little bit. There goes my dog. They got it. I don't even have to say a word. I hop up off the sofa, I hop up off the porch or whatever I'm doing. I take them out to go potty one last time. I open the door, and guess where they go? Down the hallway, in the bedroom, down this turn left, turn right, and in their kennel. And they're going, hey, would you shut the door? In fact, when we actually had to take them out, because we didn't have the kennel, we went somewhere, forgot to bring the kennel. Oh my gosh, they were super stressed. So again, I just want to give you some food for thought. At the end of the day, the decision is yours, but I want you to think about your dog's welfare. I don't want it harming itself. I want you to be able to relax and get the dog out from underneath your feet so you can concentrate on other things, especially if you're working from home. And then I do want you to take the dog out. The only time these things are inhumane is if they're in there forever. But you're not going to do that. You need to get out of your house. Go for a walk. Get out there. Get outdoors for a little bit. Shake off some of that stress, an outlet for frustration. We're going to cover that this weekend in great detail about the 4 factors of the response. But there you go. There's your kennels. That's it. And if you've got one of these, you don't need to go out and buy one of these right off the bat. If you do cover it with a blanket, just give yourself a little standoff. And the way I've done that, well, there went my marker. But anyway, the way I've done that is I've placed either 2x4s up here, strap them down, or a large board or whatever have you, so that you got about a 2-inch standoff. And then throw your blanket over it and only leave a little bit in the front open. That way the dog can't poke its little nose out, grab some of that blanket because, hey, I'm bored. So I'm just going to pull this thing in and make one of those little paper snowflakes like you see a lot of kids do with scissors and a piece of paper. And now we worry about the dog ingesting some of that blanket. So if you are going to cover one of these, make sure there's a standoff. Or back it into a closet, back it into somewhere dark, or purchase one of these and do the same thing. Give it a quiet space for your dog. Young puppies need to sleep. They got a lot of growing to do. And it's been proven that this actually lowers their stress response. All right, guys, I hope you found this helpful. I appreciate, this was a question, by the way, that was asked from one of our viewers. I've got more questions to answer. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to do everything I can to help you guys during this time that you're having to be at home with your dogs. If you found this beneficial for you or for anyone else, you know the rules by now, please share. I really need you to share this more than ever before. During this time, people need a little help. We all do. So please share it. I hope it helps someone. Okay, guys, I'll be coming at you tomorrow. Until then, be safe.